Welcome into IDP Plus Bets. I am at Ombre Vendor Billy Mansell here, and I'm going to be taking you through the college football bets for this 2024 season. I am a huge fan of betting college football. It was very, very profitable last year, so I am very excited to take you through some of the bets for the season. I will be going week by week, taking you through prop bets, which is my specialty for yards for players or rushes, whatever. And then I'll also be giving you a couple of spreads that I like too. This is just going to be kind of a preseason bet for the future kind of thing, just to kind of get everybody warmed up to how I'm going to be doing things. I like to give out 3 bets per episode. One is a pretty much straight bet. It's going to be a minus 140 today, but pretty much just going to keep it small, keep it pretty likely that it's going to happen, just to kind of get you your money back. I'll also give you kind of a medium tier bet where it's like a little bit more risky, but I still believe that there's a really good chance that it can happen. And then I'll usually every week give you one long shot so that you can keep that your fingers crossed and kind of make you feel as if you were in on the big money as well. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to not beat any more around the bush and get right to it. So the first bet that I like for this upcoming season is going to be the Big 12 football, the Big 12 to not get more than one team into the college football playoff. So as you can see on the screen right now, and audio audience, I'm basically betting on there only being one good team in the Big 12. It's a minus 140 bet. It's under the specialty tab on DraftKings right now. I'm sure it's on FanDuel as well. But basically, I'm only betting that whoever wins the Big 12 is going to be the only team that gets in, whether that's Arizona, whether that's Utah, whether that's Kansas. I just think that the other leagues are too stacked, and I don't think there's going to be much room left. We'll get to another bet here in a second, but the group of 5 is going to get one team in. So that leaves you 11 spots to get in. The SEC champion is getting in. That's one spot. The ACC champion, the Big 12 champion, and the Big 10 champion are all getting in. So that's 4 spots. So that's 5 spots that are right off the table right there. And that's the one Big 12 team as well. So you've got 7 spots after that. I'm going to bet that the SEC gets in 3 more teams. I'm going to bet the Big 10 gets in 3 more teams. That's 6. And then we're down to just the Big 12 or the ACC getting that final other spot, which, by the way, they're still fighting for against the 4th Big 12 team or 4th Big 10 team and 4th SEC team for that last spot. Don't want to complicate it too much. I'm just betting that the Big 12 does not have a team that's better than the 2nd best ACC team or the 4th best Big 10 or SEC team. It's not much more complicated than that. I just don't think that they have it this year. I think in the future they're going to end up a lot better, but I do think the committee is going to see the Big 12 and the ACC as lesser conferences just because of who is in the SEC now and who is in the Big 10 now, with Oregon and Washington joining the Big 10 and then with Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC. I just don't see the Big 12 being up enough to get 2 teams in. I think that would be a little extreme. Last season, they would not have gotten 2 teams in. Texas would have been the lone Big 12 team that got in, and I kind of think that's just how it's going to be. So first bet on the board, that the Big 12 will be under 1.5 teams in the college football playoff. Moving on to a little bit more risky pick, and that is the Liberty Flames to make the college football playoff. Now, as I mentioned with the first bet, there's going to be one group of 5 team that gets in the college football playoff. My bet is it's going to be the team that would have made it in last year, which is the Liberty Flames. Now, they have a baby soft Charmin schedule. So that is what's going in our favor. They're probably going to be undefeated through most of the season. It's going to be a major upset. They do play Appalachian State, and they do play Western Kentucky, who's always kind of a weird game to play. But for everything else on their schedule, I don't think they're going to be challenged very much. They do have 2 top 100 players, and this is not even me making this up. It's college football video game that came out. They ranked them this way as well. So they have Caden Salter and Quentin Cooley, who are the quarterback and running back. I think they're going to be putting up video game type numbers, pardon the pun, but they're going to be putting up those kind of numbers on offense, and their defense is going to be just strong enough to keep off some of those other teams. So I think barring the only thing that could potentially take this down was for another group of 5 team to somehow pull an upset over a bigger team, like, a team that's actually in a conference that matters, because the Liberty Flames do not play anyone in any Power 5, Power 4 now, I guess, with the Pac-12 not existing, but the Power 4 conferences, they don't play any teams in that. So they're going to have a pretty easy slide right to the championship. The only thing that could potentially take this down was for one of the teams that is playing a back half SEC team or a lower ACC team, something like that. Could be the only way to take this down. And as I had it on the screen a minute ago, but I'll put it up here, that is plus 400 right now on DraftKings. 4-1 odds for potentially the top group of 5 to make the playoff. Give me those odds every day of the week. That is such an easy bet to put in, easy future to put in, because a group of 5 team is getting the spot. That's the thing. It's an automatic bid. Whoever is the top ranked team, they're going to be undefeated most likely by the end of the season. So there really shouldn't be much discussion other than if there's an upset pulled, and then we will kind of talk through that throughout the season as well. But I would just go ahead and slide that one into your back pocket and keep that in your portfolio for the entire season, because I think you're going to be ended up making a lot of money by the end of the season with that one. Okay, on to the long shot bet. So early this offseason, I did a Heisman bets preview. It was way too early. I mean, I did it back in, I think, May or June. Kind of when those bets started to trickle out. And I gave you a bunch of names that had a chance to win. And while I still do believe in those, the problem I'm having is I don't know if those teams are going to be good enough to pull it off. So I gave you Brady Cook because he has Luther Burden, his number 1 wide receiver, NFL-bound wide receiver, first round, probably top 10 draft pick. And that's pretty good. Missouri starting out at number 11. I do think that's actually a pretty good spot for them to start out at. They're going to have to pull a couple upsets to make that team good enough. But I don't know by season's end if you're going to have a Missouri player holding up the trophy. Also gave out Noah Fafita and Shadur Sanders for similar reasons. Noah Fafita has McMillan, who is a first-round draft pick at wide receiver, and you also have Shadur Sanders has Travis Hunter, who is a first-round wide receiver. Both of those are still solid bets. Colorado, not going to be a great football team this year. I think they're going to be doing some fun things. I think it's going to be very aesthetically fun to watch, but I don't think they're going to be winning anything important, sadly. Like I don't mean to hate on what Deion's trying to do there or what the Colorado football team is trying to do, but I just don't really believe that it's going to be profitable to bet on Colorado football this year, other than maybe the overs, because their defense is still not going to happen and their offense still should be good. And as far as Arizona, they're going to have to win the Big 12 for, I think, an Arizona player to hoist the Heisman Trophy. It's going to be a pretty competitive conference this year, not necessarily in a good way, but just like they're going to be kind of beating each other up. I do think Utah might be the play for who's going to win the Big 12 this year. There's still Kansas. Kansas could make some noise. But I do think Arizona could make as well. They lost their head coach, which is kind of devastating. But what I have learned from my Heisman bets, if you missed that episode, the one thing I have learned from my Heisman betting days is that the player that is the winner of those games or that award has a first-round wide receiver on their staff. It's happened every year for the last 8 years. The last 8 Heisman Trophy winners, other than Devonta Smith in 2020, I believe, had a first-round wide receiver on their team. And Devonta Smith was a first-round wide receiver himself. So, I mean, that should just further the point of there was a first-round wide receiver on all of the Heisman teams of the last 7 years. So I think that those are the 3 best bets that fit that criteria. However, there's one that I didn't really think about, and it's kind of coming back up, and it's kind of made its way to the forefront, which has been my long way of telling you that my favorite long shot bet right now going into the season. You already have the rest of those tucked away in your portfolio. They're all 40 to 1, 35 to 1, something like that. But the number one bet right now on DraftKings is Dillon Gabriel to win the Heisman Trophy. He plays for the Oregon Ducks. They are going to be a top 5 football team. They have a very, very inside track to being one of the top teams in the country this season. They really only have the Big Ten schedules that they got to go through. But he is currently plus 750, which is 7-1 on DraftKings right now. I think that is kind of the best bet, to be honest, putting in a Heisman bet right now. If you don't, if you want the longer shots, I do appreciate those as well. But Dillon Gabriel is going to be on a good team. He's going to be very, very noticeable. Dillon Gabriel has been around the block. He's going to end up as one of the top pass yards leaders in college football for a career by the end of the season. He has been around for a very, very long time. And I think that what I didn't notice or make a note about when we first started talking about the Heisman and the first round wide receiver thing is they have a player named Tez Johnson on this team that I do think could probably be a first round wide receiver. I do think Oregon does fit the criteria of that, even though I didn't necessarily think about it the first time around. So I will take that off the screen for a second, but I do think there's something to be said. They also have Evan Stewart. He's a transfer from Texas A&M, also a player that could sneak up into the first round and be a first-round wide receiver. I just think there's a lot of good things to look at here, and if you can put the long shots in. I have them all. I have all of those in, so I'm never going to give you a bet that I don't place myself. So I have all of those in, but I think Dillon Gabriel might be a good bet hedger that kind of like, when we don't get to the end of the season – and we're like, well, duh, he won. Of course. I just don't want to get the season into the season and think that. So I do think Dillon Gabriel at 7-1 to win the Heisman is a good bet to put in to kind of hedge the Heisman Trophy bets that you maybe have already made. I just think that that's probably a good one to add to the portfolio. So just to recap, we got Big 12 football teams to get into the college football playoff. Under 1.5 at minus 140. We have the Liberty Flames to make the college football playoff at plus 400. And we have Dillon Gabriel to win the Heisman Trophy from the Oregon Ducks at plus 750. Now, I am just going to tell you throughout the season, I will be giving you my best bets each and every week. I will be back next week to do week 0 of college football to kind of get us through. I will give you some long shots. I'll give you some good bets. If I don't feel a long shot, I'm not just going to throw it out there, just throw it out there. I know this is like a degenerate gambling podcast, and I do appreciate that. I am one of those guys that likes to do that. But I do want to give you things that I actually think are going to happen. So if I don't see something on the board that makes a lot of sense for a long shot bet, I'm probably not going to give it out. But I will definitely give you each and every week a bet that you can definitely feel good about and definitely watch. And more often than not, see happen. Every one of last year, my prop bets each weekend, week out, I was undefeated until the last week of the season. I bet Brock Bowers over yards, and that did not happen, unfortunately. And that is the only one I still kick myself for missing, but I was undefeated the rest of the season on those prop bets. So I'm going to look to continue that this season and make you and myself a lot of money. So that's all I got for this week. Thank you for tuning in for IDP Plus Bets, and I do appreciate each and every week if you just check it out. I want to make money, and you want to make money. So thank you for tuning in. See you next week.
Thank you for watching the IDP Plus YouTube network. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Be sure to tap the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload new content.